as it's described or as it's defined, and that we see no need for additional nuclear weapons of a new type, either in capability or in capacity. So this is a reflection of where we are now looking forward versus a reflection of I always have the responsibility as a commander to come in and stand up and say if I feel like there's any reason in that protocol that I must say that for some reason a particular weapon isn't going to make it, and just refurbishing it or doing reuse or replacement is going to be insufficient. And all of the commanders will always have that ability.
So there's no scientific need to test what you have now to make sure it's effective.
That's correct.
As we transition to the next question, I just want to add that Secretary Gates said explicitly that he sees the investment program that we put forward to Congress as a credible modernization plan to deal with these issues. Yes.
I don't completely understand the replacement category and a design that's not in the stockpile, I think was said. I mean, is that a new nuclear weapon? And also, when one of the arguments for the reliable replacement warhead was that we need to keep our sort of nuclear experts, we need to give opportunity to design a new weapon. Is this the kind of activity that keeps our scientists fresh, for lack of a better way?
Certainly. Replacement category, I think, was your question. General Cartwright described the definition that we have, which is a design that uses nuclear components, designs that have not been in the stockpile, but that we've tested before. The United States, over a period of many years, as you know, has conducted many, many hundreds of nuclear tests. Most of those, or a good number of those designs, are not in the stockpile, have never been in the stockpile. But we learned something from those. And the idea is, what did we learn? How do we take that learning from those tests that we've done in the past and apply it to the standards that the Congress has put forward in the stockpile management program? This idea of advancing the safety and security of the stockpile, the idea of no underground testing, the idea of being able to facilitate the reduction in the total numbers of weapons that we might have, reducing the total number of types. So what we want to do is provide the flexibility, particularly in the very early stages, in the conceptual design stages, to try to advance as much as possible what Congress asks us to do: safety, security, reliability of the stockpile out in the future, so we don't have to test. And then create a position or a point in time where we say, if we have to go to that replacement category, whereby, because we think it's the only way or one of the best ways to achieve the aims that we have, safety, security, reliability, no underground testing, then we have the flexibility to do that. But we want to make sure, and the President will have an opportunity to specifically take a look at that to ensure that it meets all of those objectives and it doesn't get us closer to one of these touch points that we said we weren't going to do, which is no new warheads for new military capabilities. So that flexibility, in my view, provides exactly what our scientists need. They need to be able to do that, and that's, in essence, the path forward on that, from that approach.
Thanks, Tom. Yes.
I'd like you to talk a bit about what appears to be this new emphasis on conventional response. Beyond the conversion of the boomers to carrying conventional warheads, what else is being planned to make U.S. Conventional response more robust? And given the fact that the United States is got such a lead in terms of its conventional response and ability to hit and target points around the globe, why would a country that's thinking about nuclear weapons not continue to develop those nuclear weapons, given the fact that it does not have the ability to develop the kind of conventional strike that the United States has?
We are currently looking at the potential future mix of long-range strike systems. Work coming out of both the Quadrennial Defense Review and the NPR. And in that study, which is now well underway, we're looking at the mix of penetrating bombers, standoff bombers, cruise missiles, potential conventional prompt global strike capabilities, as well as the supporting electronic warfare and other capabilities that would be necessary. We decided, after having a hard look at the issues associated with the next generation bomber, frankly, that we wanted to pull back and have a look at the broader portfolio or the family of systems. That work's now underway, and we expect that to inform the FY12 budget submission and on all of these programs. And we do have R&D underway and money set aside for these sets of capabilities that we will then propose the specific allocation in FY12. From a policy perspective, as we think about the perspective of a potential proliferator, what we're trying to do in this NPR is give incentives for them to move away from nuclear capability. And the caveat that we talked about earlier with respect to biological weapons is to, at the same time, ensure that they don't have an incentive to go that direction. I don't see any prospect that any of the countries that we've talked about will have the ability to compete with the United States with respect to conventional military power. As General Cartwright said, the capabilities that we have today and that we have committed to sustaining for the future are second to none, and there's no question about the commitment to sustain that.
That's a follow-on. For that reason, given that there's no prospect that they can compete on conventional weapons, why would they not have an inducement to continue developing nuclear weapons?
Well, the inducement that we're trying to give is obviously in the other direction. That if you're a country considering proliferation, that as the Secretary of Defense said, you put yourself in a different category with respect to our nuclear capabilities. And in addition to that, as we continue to develop both our conventional capabilities, including but not limited to strike, our missile defense capabilities, and our abilities to combat WMD or counterproliferation capabilities, that these states will see less and less of an advantage to going down that path. Tom.
One or two more, and then we'll bring it to a close. We'll go for about an hour.
A two-parter on the NPR and terrorism, if I could. With the elevation of terrorism for the first time to a core theme of the NPR, what new programs are needed and required? And I guess I also have to ask, if it's not Russia and China as the major risk, but terrorism and the proliferation, how do you still defend 1550 warheads? That seems like a very high number.
Okay. Let me start with the 1550 warheads. That number was a product of negotiations with another sovereign power, with the Russian Federation, and the NPR did extensive analysis of the requirements with respect to the United States, with respect to both warheads and delivery vehicles. So that number is one that is associated with product of a negotiation, and as the NPR says, while parity is not, rough approximate parity with respect to overall numbers is certainly not as important as it appeared in the Cold War, we still believe that approximate parity is appropriate with respect to, in particular, deployed strategic systems, as we think about the balance on both sides, to make sure that there aren't misperceptions, misunderstandings on either side, any sense of advantage or disadvantage. So that's a sense that as we go down in New START and as we take next steps, the next step beyond that, following ratification and entry into force, that we ought to do it by working together. Do you want to speak to any of the specific programs in DOE? And we can add some from other programs. Yeah.
The NPR makes clear that this is not just about warheads, but it's taking the totality of the work that we have in the administration and the executive branch to move forward. Our non-proliferation programs, as you heard earlier, are up $2.7 billion. It's the largest non-proliferation program in the world that this country is putting forth. We've got significant increases in our work on bringing nuclear materials, securing materials at the sites themselves where they're located, installing radiation detector equipment at land border crossings and at seaports to make sure that we're there. And as we talked about earlier, the gentleman asked a question about exercising our scientific capability. That scientific capability just doesn't take care of the nuclear weapon stockpile or the deterrent itself. It's absolutely essential. That's the capability that does non-proliferation, nuclear counterterrorism, nuclear intelligence analysis, forensics, emergency management, and on downstream. So it's that broad spectrum of nuclear security activities that are indeed supported by the foundational work on the stockpile itself. That's why we have that capability. That's why you see such a tremendous investment on the part of the administration to bring up overall in the Department of Energy or the National Nuclear Security Administration a very significant 13.4% growth from FY10 to FY11. It's a significant growth. but it's a clear demonstration that the administration really understands this problem. It's about exercising the people.